Get ready because today's episode is nothing short of a masterclass in turning challenges into opportunities and scaling a business into empires. Our guest, Yosef Martin, started as an international student with barely enough to get by, but he didn't just survive, he thrived. He built BoxyCharm, the beauty subscription box that became a global sensation, culminating in an astonishing $500 million exit. But Yosef's journey doesn't stop there. From building businesses that rewrite the rules to mastering financial literacy to diving into cutting edge biohacking and health innovation, he's constantly pushing boundaries and creating new paths forward. If you're curious about what it takes to grow from small wins to monumental success and how to evolve and stay ahead in an ever changing world, this episode is for you. Yosef's insights are equal parts inspiring and actionable. You'll walk away with ideas that can transform the way you think about success. So, very happy to have you here, Joseph. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Why don't we start with your story? Why don't you tell us who you are and why you do what you do?
I like to call myself entrepreneur now. I mean, for a while I didn't know what to call myself. I built and sold two companies. The last one was a monthly beauty subscription box called BoxyCharm. It was sold in 2020, and that was more like my fame to claim, if you want to call that. Yeah. So I came in 2001 to the United States, and the companies that came on later on were just a reason to pay the out-of-state tuition. I was an international student. I came from Israel. Coming to this, Florida is the beautiful place where you come in and you said, this is so nice. I ran out of money. I don't want to go back. I like the palm trees over here. I like the Latin culture. I already start learning some Spanish. I better figure out a way to stay. And when you're an international student, the out-of-state tuition is very expensive. And I remember I took a Spanish class and I ran into the opportunity over there in that class to sell products for eBay, but salvage and liquidations. At first, I thought I'm going to sell on eBay products or so on until someone told me, no, sell to people who sell on eBay or sell to people who sell to people on eBay. Sell full truckloads, don't sell small. And I told me, but I'm kind of like, I don't have any money and I don't know how to, what are you talking, how am I going to sell truckloads when? I said, well, you flip it. So I got a list of all the suppliers, which was Macy's, Sears at the time, JCPenney, CVS, and like just they have listing every day of all their excess inventory. And you just put it on a website and people call and they buy truckloads. And you flip it. You don't have to own it. You don't have to bring it to a facility. You take it from their facility to the client. And my question was, how do I get those clients exactly to know about me? I mean, what does one have to do? And they said, well, that's search engine optimization. Now, when I was told that was in 2000, I understood, okay, so that's an algorithm. My friend told me, you see, those are the paid results and anything underneath it, those are free. We have a person in our company and what they do is they put our website on the free results, they figure it out, it's an algorithm. I'll say no more. I'll figure it out. What else am I going to do? So $375 and lots of dedication. I want to say the first few months you work and there's not one single phone call. The first year you're not even appearing in Google. I did everything wrong. But once you do appear in Google, that feeling that, look at this, I type the word liquidators or liquidation and here's my website. At that time, there was no personalized results or geo-targeted results. You type in a word in 2004 and globally, Japan, Asia, wherever it is, you're going to see the same word. So you would type in the word liquidators, you would see my website. And it's very hard to understand how one feels when you're able to accomplish something like this. And now the phone is ringing off the hook. I was going from one class to another. At that point, material and classes, I didn't really care about school. I was really focused on the business. I had sleepless nights for, I want to say, a few good years of just building the website, building the business. Little by little, you rent a warehouse. Well, actually, it's more of a storage that is to call a warehouse. Then you really move into a big warehouse space. You have employees. It's a real business. You graduate and the business turns into like a 10 million a year wholesale liquidation. And you feel you're great. You feel you're doing good. So around 2012, I came across the opportunity for subscription box. Now that was direct to consumer, unlike my other business, which was a B2B. And I was in love with this because when you're a wholesaler and you sell products to people, if you're my wholesaler and that's how I get my goods, I would never tell anyone who's my supplier. I'm not going to go online and say, oh my God, what a great supplier, Ahmed. Buy from Ahmed. You keep it, you take it to the grave, you only pass it on to your kids. So I had to always create awareness about my websites and do SEO. But suddenly when it's direct to consumer, if someone got a box with 5 makeup items and they liked it, they post it online, they're promoting your product. That was something that I was foreign to. I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. That's what I always wanted to have. So I decided to go into subscription box and I built BoxyCharm. Now, in a nutshell about BoxyCharm, and we can dive more into it, BoxyCharm started kind of like soft launch mid 2013, fully launched January 2014. I sold the company at the end of 2020. We had a big exit. It was documented. We sold the company for 500 million. And during that year, we actually also grossed 500 million. All combined, all you can go and say it was the $1 billion year, but during COVID. And the way to kind of like explain how does one come from a couple dollars to building a $10 million business and then building a $500 million company, I feel like there are so many, I would say, evolutionary changes in your own self that you can get to it that I'm still thinking, how the hell did I build this? You know, your story starts getting perfected as you keep going on podcast, and you said, oh, I did forget to mention that part. And then every podcast there's another piece of information that kind of like shows you the road and all the stepping stones that you had to reach that. And that's pretty much what I did up until 2020. That was actually a crazy year for me, getting divorced, COVID. You know, they closed the country, they opened up the country, I sell the company. So after 17 years of running companies, you suddenly sit down and you really don't have to do anything. So after that part, I decided I'm going to have to learn investing because I was so laser focused on the liquidation for a few years, and then later on with the subscription box, I never ever tried to dive into investing because you have to put your mind into something, and my mind wasn't there. But you get a big sum of cash after you sell. You have to learn how to park the cash, and I really decided to dedicate myself into finance and understand that part better in an investment perspective, not just understanding finance. And eventually I decided around 2003 that I did see a new opportunity and I decided to start a new business in the healthcare space.
What a journey. Super, super, super interesting. I connect with you in so many levels. I am also an immigrant. I am also an exited entrepreneur. So I can understand.
You're Iranian, right?
I'm half Persian, yes, and half Ecuadorian.
Oh, really? Okay, so you speak Spanish.
Speak Spanish, speak Farsi as well.
Wow, that's amazing.
Learning Italian, also speak French because I live in Switzerland. So a little bit of languages here and there, but mainly of circumstances. But I really connect with you with what you're saying. And you said after doing podcasts, you start to realize what happened in that transition from selling one company to then selling a second company, going from B2B, then going to B2C, taking a $10 million revenue company and then for wholesale and then taking it to 500 million. What is the highlight reels? What can you teach us in that section? And then we'll dive into the investment world, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the 10 million is your foundation as an entrepreneur because that's when you understand. I guess there's a couple of mental blocks when you want to build something and you crack through those blocks. But I would always say if you want to start with getting yourself skilled. My first instrumental skill that you really cannot till today, you can't really find people that would make your business a unicorn unless you know how to do it, is marketing. You start online marketing in 2003 and you've seen the evolutionary changes from 2003 to 2007 and then so on, where how SEO used to change and then new tricks that came in and then eventually social bookmarks, which was Reddit and Dig, Stumble Upon came around, how you leverage those, and then eventually actual social media platforms like we see today. But there's definitely a correlation to all of them. And once you understand marketing so in such a fundamental way, where it starts from search engine optimization till today, you have a scale where you can create awareness better, faster, and cheaper than the competition. You can make sure that it's going to work. And then the second part behind this, you go through a lot more walls that you have to break through, right? And eventually you get comfortable. Why should I break that wall? I'm just good. I was eating rice and ketchup, and now look at me. I have some cash. I can really go and buy any food I want. It's great. Until you get a perspective from someone else that does what you do, and they do 5 or 10 times more than you, just because their day is organized different, their priorities are different. And you said, oh, I was too comfortable. I need to break through this. And you change your structure, your day-to-day structure, and boom, your business catch up with what they used to do. And then it happens again and again, because there's always someone that does better than you. And at first you say, why do I need those people to motivate me? So why can't I just motivate myself by saying I need to do today better than what I did yesterday? I don't, because what happened if you're an industry leader at that point? Like, there's no more motivation, right? You still have to consider something to drive you. And if you're conscious about this, you can proceed. So it starts with skills. It starts with skills because skills would help you do something that you cannot find those people to do it for you, and it would help you gain momentum if it's the right skill. Marketing can really help you with that. And once you catch up momentum, you get a motivation, and it's not all about your discipline and you're going to do it. You do need some motivation in life. You have a combination of discipline and motivation, you take off, it starts moving off. And then eventually there's a decline, you get comfortable, and then you break through, and then you go again. So always ask yourself, how can I do better than what I did yesterday? Because that's how you can progress forever.
Love it. I wrote all these down because it's such a important skill from someone that comes from the growth, and I love how you're saying marketing, especially because as an entrepreneur, I agree. You can never delegate marketing because the
Thank
minute
you.
that you delegate marketing, you don't understand your business.
Boom. I agree
Uh,
100%. Yeah, there's the part where if you understand your marketing, and you also understand your consumer. If you understand your consumer, you can better your product. It's really a loop. For my opinion, it's a magic cycle where you can have a great marketing skill, but if your product is inferior to someone else, it's just a matter of time until it would make a difference how good you are in marketing. But if you are a good marketer, you do understand the market, because you're touching the market, so you'll see there's a pushback. And a good marketer would say, let's go back to product. The product market fit is not there. Better the product. My jealousy was always not jealousy in a bad way. I would say inspiration. When I was doing SEO back in the day, I remember Apple was my inspiration, because Apple didn't have to do any marketing. Every conversation on Reddit was Apple. Everywhere was Apple. And it wasn't them. It was just because the product was like no other. So everyone were talking about them. Later on, it changed to Tesla, where you see people that are fanatic about their car, and they just couldn't stop talking about this. There were no other good electric cars at the time, and it was just amazing. And I said, once you have an amazing product, you don't have to worry about marketing. However, if you're not there yet and your product is good and you keep improving your product, aspire for that. However, in the meantime, learn the marketing skills. Now, if you do have an amazing product and amazing marketing skills, now you're taking it to the moon. And you can look at Tesla with Elon Musk, where he's a marketer. He's a very unique marketer, where he does something that very few have done in a personal branding. But then he has an unbeatable product. And here is where he's at. The wealthiest man in Wall Street. It's a really powerful combination, but it does help you connect. If you understand your marketing, you'll understand your consumer, and that would help you with the product.
yeah, yeah. I connect 100%. I like the second part, which you said breaking through walls, because breaking through walls, and you said motivation when you met someone that did 5 times or 10 times your business. I would add that I look also behind me and I say there's someone that's working harder than me to take what I have. So it's
Mhm.
like, I see the reward of growing, but I also think there's a pit bull chasing me
Yeah.
to get what I have,
That's
because
why paranoia is healthy when you run a business, right?
yes, because at the end, like you said, it's a combination of motivation with discipline. And when you have a pit bull chasing you, believe me, you are
You have the
motivated.
motivation.
It's
Yeah.
like you said, you wanted to stay in this country, you were eating rice with ketchup. You said, I love the palm trees, I'm learning Spanish. The going back was the pitfall of saying, I need to do something. I'm not going to stay uh, like waiting to see what happens. You went and did it, and that action led to progress. And
Yeah,
Elon Musk is the same. I agree with what you said, the marketing execution and the product fit. Like if you it's Tesla, Apple, I think CrossFit was like that. And they're like cults, and someone and
very
but then
much.
when they don't know how to market properly, they can spiral like CrossFit did or like BlackBerry did. When they become obsessed with the product, but forget the market and how their fit is. The BlackBerry story is incredible. How
It is.
they
It
had the
is.
best product in the world. Everybody talked about it. Everybody was obsessed with it, but they didn't see that the market was moving, and they completely.
Yeah, I mean I will actually go back to BoxyCharm. So I sold the company, and when you ask why would you sell, right? And you ask yourself, is it bad to sell, or is it not about bad to sell? Is it either sell or modify? That's what it needs to be. Either sell or modify. Now, if you're coming from a place where I came from, and you said, do I really want to have an amazing, like a box every month to surprise over 1 million ladies, be dependent on outside factors like shipping, delivery? If there's a blizzard in the Northeast, no one gets the boxes over there, but yet they blame you, where's my box? But no mail got there because you guys have a blizzard. So it's like, do I need to go through this every month? Or supply chain issues like COVID, where nothing is going to be shipped. That's it, we're closing the ports, no one. And then you still have to deliver. What do you do? So I said, well, it's a tricky business. I would love to eventually get out of this because modifying the business is possible, but it's time to leave, right? When you look at BlackBerry, they were big, right? They were a public company, but they were able to cash out and sell prior if they either decide, okay, it's time for me to cash out, and if it goes down, my prestige and my fame goes, but at the same time, I cashed out. In my case, I did not want to go back to ground zero. I had I had the understanding that I'll go in. If I think it's a lifestyle business, great, I'll keep it. But if it's not, it's for exit, then I need to know when to get out. When to go in, when to go out. The momentum is a key. You cannot reinvent momentum. If you sell at the right time, you can sell an average product for $1. If you sell at the wrong time, you can take an amazing product and sell it for 20 cents because it was just not the right momentum. So I had to figure out. I got in at whatever. My time was good. It wasn't the perfect, but it was definitely great. But I was able to grow the business, and we had the only big exit in the space. Everything else declined after because of a major correction in general, and not them, but it was the industry correction and so on. But momentum is very much key. But if you don't, then you have to modify your business. You have to change fundamentals in your business to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Relevance is important. By the way, you mentioned something about people advocating for it, like CrossFit, where it was a cult. Community is a skill to build. If you build a community, which a community is a group of people with the same interest in the same space, activating together. Once you have a community talking about you, it helps you build a cool factor. It builds a persona. Who is that? Okay, so if you look at the Tesla drivers, it's kind of like the intellect, someone nice, cool, chic. It can be a multi-millionaire that still drive a Tesla. There's a clique that connects people together. So if you drive a Tesla and I drive a Tesla, now we're friends. What did you get? Now we're connected. So how do you do that? How do you get people to connect over your product and feel like they have some camaraderie together because they're using your product? And that's a skill. And I remember in 2015, I had a pleasure meeting a lady that was doing the marketing for Beats by Dre, and she told me, you gotta chase the cool factor, make your brand cool. And how the hell do you do that? I was thinking about this, but eventually you start, once you have it first in your mind, your subconscious will start gravitating towards making those decisions that would make your brand cool. A little by little, you start consciously understanding what you're doing so you can put this out there for your team, and you can take what's in here and pass it on to them. So in the lieu of you being in the room or any other officers, they can still make the right decisions. And eventually the company was cool. Eventually the company has more discussion than all other boxes combined with margin because you're cool. And we were not the biggest box in terms of active members, but we were the one that had more conversation than all of them combined. Building a community eventually builds a solid cool factor of people that feel very, very connected, and you're part of their day-to-day conversation. And as higher the affinity for people is, the better it is. So you want to think of, don't think how big the community is, at least not in the beginning. Think how passionate they are. What's their affinity? So you want to take the ones that are the most passionate about your product and find a space for them to talk about this together. So it's a group of people with the same interest in the same space activating together. So find a space to take the mega passionate, biggest evangelist for your brand and put them together. And then they'll bring other people in, and that's going to create a core that's going to shine from there.
I'm going to show how many notes I've taken from you. I suggest, like, if I do these podcasts to learn from people like you, I love learning, and you just gave so much value. And whoever is listening to this, really listen to what you just said. I think it's key if you want to be an entrepreneur. That the difference between 10 million and 500 million, I think, is what you just said.
100%. 100%. Look, you cannot hire an agency to do this for you. That's why when you said you have to understand marketing and internalize it in your business, that is such a key component. If I go and if you hire an agency, they can do basic things what everyone else is going to get. Some agencies are better here and there than others, but if they ultimately take in all your marketing period, from strategizing, conceptualizing, executing, all that, that would not happen. That needs to be you. You have to have that connection with the community. You need to feel what they're saying, what they want, and that's how you can optimize a lot of your products or your services, your quality of service or quality of product. But it's very important that it's in your head, and then you shine it on the organization. If you have an agency doing this for you, they cannot, because part of it would be the experience. Okay, so if let's just say I'm selling a box and the box is late, what do I do about a late box? How do I manage the communication? All that has to be internalized because it's part of the cool factor. You do not want them to make a mess. How do you come out strong from this? How do you come up with a good message for them? So all that has to tie together. And eventually, once you get it, once it starts, once it happens, it's a lot easier to maintain it because once you get it, you will be making better and better decisions. Think of it of kind of like exploratory matter at first. You're in the dark, you can see nothing, you're touching the wall, you're just trying. You're touching the wall, it's really dark. But eventually you understand that there's a wall here, there's a wall here, and over there, there's a corner. You understand and you can strategically walk away back and forth. You understand your moves without hitting walls anymore. And that would be the stage when you eventually hover through this. Most people fail in the middle of the exploratory phase. They didn't wait a little bit to come down and understand that it's dark, but they'll get a perspective of the space just from feeling and touching. And then all the right decisions start coming one after the other. And they call you a genius, but you have to hit 100 walls before you start making all those right decisions.
It's very powerful what you just said, because most people give up before they even have a sense of where they are. And it's very hard to find that, clarity and understanding and niche and make it cool, because what you think is cool, like you said, you have to then kind of like with osmosis or maybe write procedures but that takes time, that takes doing. It doesn't take like just thinking, because if you
A
strategize
million
and think,
trials.
if you don't
Literally,
try.
Thomas Edison trying to build a light bulb with everything. Hundreds and hundreds of trials until boom, you figure it out. Right? It's like a crazy madman's lab until finally it starts working. And you didn't know why, but then eventually you will understand why. A lot of things you understand after it happens multiple times and you see the reason why, but you wouldn't have a preconceived notion knowing what everything needs to get done. If that was so easy, then everybody would have a vision and everyone would have been built stuff. But the ones that can get through this, can you walk the dark? Can you walk in the woods in the dark and until you figure it out and remember how to come back and figure out the way? And that's what makes us different.
You on this one, can you walk in the dark? That's what takes an entrepreneur. Let's go to maybe a hard question to answer. Do you regret selling?
Absolutely not. No. I feel like, it's funny when most of the questions I get right away is, what does it feel when you get that money, that cash? And the thing is, when you ask when you regret selling, and when someone asks, how does the money feel? Okay, there is a part of it that money does. I didn't feel anything when you get the money, right? Because I knew I'm going to get that money. And it was just, it was what it was worth. And I was okay. In my mind, I had it before I sold it. But the regret, the reason it doesn't happen, it's because I kind of felt selling BoxyCharm, like, I don't know if you saw movies where someone is trying to escape with a car and there's a gate that's closing and he's speeding up and the enemy is shooting at the car and and he's riding with a sport car with his loved one, and right away and the gate is closing and with the skin of their teeth they're going through and they're breaking the side mirrors but they got out, right? That's how I felt selling the business, because I understood there's going to be a major correction and in the space, and I felt like it's either I have to reinvent myself or I can sell it. And until the night that we signed, I didn't think we're going to go through this. When you sell a company, expect multiple steps. If it's a big company, it's a big exit. The buyers are really well, I would say seasoned, solid negotiators, and they'll try till the last minute to get their ways, whatever they want, and you can have multiple standoffs. And especially when we're talking hundreds of millions. And in our case, the last night, right before we signed, there was already a press release to Bloomberg, but then we hit another wall where they wanted us to do something. We said no, boom, boom, boom. And eventually we said, okay, we're going to send you termination papers and we're just going to wrap it up. We almost did it. So before, and we're back and forth. I already called my ex-wife because my ex-wife was the only one that knew I'm about to sell a business in personal life. It wasn't even my mom. My ex-wife and I, we were great friends, but even though we broke up, I told her we're going to sell the business. And then I told her, okay, we did this. We signed the papers. But the thing was, it wasn't just that. I also told her, prior to that, I told her we're going to get, all these months before, I told her we're going to get like 10 million. She didn't know what we're really going to get. I wanted to surprise her. And then like right before, like a day or two, I told her, actually, do you know what we're really going to get? She's like, well, you told me 10. I'm like, nah, this is what we're getting. She was in complete shock. She said, for real? I said, yeah. But so then the night of everything was supposed to be okay. I said, okay, we're closed, we're good. But then all this started, and I think it was kind of like planned, or maybe not. I don't know, but it seems like it was because they thought they were going to say yes because we didn't want to back down. We didn't want them to back down, but we eventually said no, and here's the termination papers. And it was all the way until 2 a.m. in the morning that I was awake, and I spoke to my partners, and I told one of them, okay, I'm going to sleep, just wrap it up with them. I'm going to go to sleep. And I went to sleep thinking I keep running this, and I'm going to have to change my business, some fundamentals, because I know that is necessary for the business to survive. I know correction is coming. And you push yourself to get excited over it. I go to sleep, I wake up, and I'm talking to them about something in my mind. We'll keep running the business as usual now. And they said, no, finally they gave us what we wanted. They caved. They signed? Yes. So we're not continuing? No. And that was the only moment that I felt a little bit, I'm good, but shit, I was kind of excited about the change and keeping it. That was the only second. It was like a second, and then I got happy again. But for one little tiny second, in that moment, if there was one touch that says maybe I regret, that was it. But it was less than a minute, and then after that, I was just fuck it. I'm so happy. I don't have to reinvent myself again. So
I don't want to. I love this story, and I don't want to gloss over something very important you said. You said I wasn't happy about the money because I already had it. In my mind, it was already yours. And this is one of the biggest myths about exiting is when people say, now you're rich. It's like, no, I was rich before too. My net worth hasn't changed. It just
yeah,
changed in my balance sheet from assets, like long-term assets, which is your equity in the company.
yeah.
It changed to cash.
Also, when you really understand finance, if you have a business that, well, not everyone can do that, right? If you have a startup that doesn't make any money, but you found some VC that feel like it's worth whatever, that's different. But in my case, it was a profitable business. We were making tens of millions a year in profit, and it was doubling every year. So the way you can always pull money out is do dividend recap, which means you go to the bank and you borrow against your earnings. So if you make $1 in one case, like let's say you make $1 here, you can take $3 against the earning if you have enough years in business, and you can. So you can get money. Not just now you have some leverage on the business if you want to, but you can take the money and there's no personal guarantee behind this. So you can always do that. So in my mind, I didn't really care, and it was okay. And I sold another business before, but nothing to compare in numbers, right? There was a little exit before, but the point is that it wouldn't change my life dramatically anyway. So it wasn't really that important for me. It was just important for me that the personal achievement. Why do you want to win a jiu-jitsu championship? Well, you just want to know you can. You're not getting any money for it. What the trophies? But it's only worth for you, right? You can't really sell it to somebody. But it's just kind of like a badge of honor for myself to say I was able to exit. That was definitely a fun piece of that number. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. The only thing that bothers you after when you sell the business, in my case, like the popularity of the company declined right after, and it wasn't maintained the way we used to do it. So back then, people would know my business. I would go and I would look at the girl's face and I could tell if she knows my company or not. But today, it's no longer. I mean, some remember, but it's not the same. That sting a little bit, but not much. It's just you move on, you do other stuff.
Something that happened to me when I sold my business was I had a bit of an identity crisis.
What business did you have?
So I had a Andean grain business. It was a processing plant for quinoa and chia and amaranth, and only 3 countries in the world produced it in that time in 2012, which was Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. But none of them had processing plants that were able to meet food standards. So they would export it to the US, to Canada, to Europe, to wherever, and they would receive this product, but it was still in a unfinished process state. So I worked with it would come with like glass and metals and like dust and dirt. And so then they had to reprocess and then so that they could sell it to the consumer. So it was a big problem. When I called the biggest producer of machinery of grain cleaning in the world, which is a company called Buehler in Germany. And I said, hey, I want to build, can you sell me a factory that cleans this stuff? They said, what is that stuff? Like, what is quinoa? We don't even know what it is. Like, they were experts at rice and other types of grains, but not in this. So we spent 8 months doing R&D to do this project. They created the factory. Together, we created a factory. And then that factory became the most advanced plant in the world to clean Andean grains. Then I was able to lobby the government essentially to increase our standards for exportation so that you can export whatever, you have to export at certain levels. Because when I would go to fairs, to food fairs, and I would say, hey, I have quinoa, they would say from Ecuador or from Peru or from Bolivia, that's dirty, I don't want to buy it. But then I would say, so that would hurt us as a country.
Yeah.
Once we created those standards or that lobby, became the only factory. We essentially became a monopoly overnight.
Wow.
And then biggest producer and partner, like strategic partner, said, "You're my funnel, so I want to buy you out." And I,
Interesting.
I said, "Not for sale." And then, but inside, I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes." But similar, But the thing with I'm saying about the identity, and this was 2019. Until then, I was known as Ahmad the quinoa guy or Ahmad the, like, so when I didn't have a job anymore because I essentially sold,
Who are you? What
who
do you
are
say
you?
when you come into the airport? You said, was that business or pleasure? What's your business? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you say entrepreneur, it's like, what does that mean? It means nothing. You're not, and coming from Middle Eastern background, I remember my family saying, don't you want to go into law? Do you want to become a doctor? It's not late.
My mom still asks me that. That's.
So how did you manage that identity crisis, or how did you change from like, okay, now I need to learn finance?
Oh well, listen. First of all, I mean, this is such a thing. Like, because all those years, what do you do? I have a company called this and that. That was my answer. I didn't say I'm a businessman. I didn't say I'm an entrepreneur. It's just I own a company called BoxyCharm. I own a company called Merchandise Liquidators. It was easy when you sell it and you have nothing. What do you do? It happened to me. I went to a board meeting, company I invested in Colombia. Now, my cousins also moved to Colombia. So a couple of days I was with the board members, then I was a couple of days with my cousins. Coming back from Colombia, visiting my cousins, but also doing the board meeting, coming to the Miami International Airport. What do you do for a living? No, I'm sorry. So they asked me, was it business or pleasure? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking it's business, but it's pleasure because I saw my cousins, and I just don't know how to lie. I'm just saying the truth. So I started stuttering, a little bit of both, and I said, okay, what do you do for a living? Now I don't want to say I'm an investor, and what am I, an entrepreneur? So I said, So they sent me to a different room. They brought the DEA, check if I. It was just because I didn't know what to say. It was literally the identity crisis. I'm like, I gotta figure out something. I have to open a company just so I can say I'm doing something. So I totally relate. I know what you're talking about when you're saying, who am I now? Like, how do I, like, when you're a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. Well, an entrepreneur, it's kind of like, come on, don't play that. Come on. What do you really do? It's like, and I don't want to say investor because I'm not. It's just, I had some dollars putting into some company here and there. I'm not really an investor. I don't have an organized system to vet companies, do due diligence. It's not what I do.
I completely agree, and I find it funny because it's also coming from Colombia. If you don't know how to answer,
Oh my
obviously
God.
the
Yeah.
antennas come up.
Yeah. It was funny. It was funny.
So super, super funny. And but how did you overcome this? Okay, now you became a exited entrepreneur. What was like your mindset of, okay, now I need to become an investor?
So the way it was in my mind is when I start something, I'm all in. Meaning, I cut off hobbies. I don't. I used to have hobbies before I started my entrepreneurial career, and then I noticed years into it that I stopped. I used to dance salsa, cook from. I was all that died as soon as I started my companies, and I figure it's gonna be the same thing if I start another company. So before I do, I want to have already a good understanding in real estate and just financial literacy where I haven't really played with stocks. And so I had to learn options, futures, stocks, and then investing in private companies, start building some portfolio, and then real estate, some niches in real estate. And I figure I'll do that because once I'm going to have the aha moment about the next business, I can replenish knowledge. I don't want to go and acquire brand new knowledge because my mind is going to be in something else. And it would be nice to know that I always have money to park after I sell another business because I know where to park it. Before that, I had no place to park the money. I had no idea what to do with that money. In fact, it's a little stressful when you get all that cash and you have no idea what to do with that. And every day you think, oh, inflation is taking it away. It's better off if I'll give myself a year or two, get experience, play around. I will probably make some mistakes, but I will also learn. And there's that, and that's what I did. That's what I did. So I went a little bit everywhere, but it was really important to do it.
I love how you put that financial literacy is one that has no diminishing returns, because as you become more versed, the next company and the next company, and even if you don't have a next company, money needs to work for you. And it's like you said, it's very stressful. And I went through the same thing, except that I found out that I am a better investor than I am an entrepreneur. And then I never looked back to entrepreneurship because I was like, I'm actually pretty good at this, and I help entrepreneurs invest because they all have this problem and this realization, like, okay, now what do I do? This money represents hard work, sleepless nights, the times when I was all in. Like you said, that movie scene of going through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gates. So it's like there's a lot of attachment to it in a certain way. And also, I find that entrepreneurs are risk averse when they have money. Like they're all in. They can say, I'm going to start a business to compete with Nvidia, or I want to start a company, like the crazy things. But when it comes to money, I don't want to risk it.
Yeah, that's true. When you start building that skill, I mean, for me, the bigger aha moment was when I sold the business. We had a lot of private equities looking into our company. And one thing that happened when you do desk side meetings with all those private equities is, or hedge funds, not hedge funds, I think we had some VCs. The first thing they show you is the kind of like we have X amount of money under management and so on, and this is where we get our money from. So you learn that okay, they're going to say most of their money. I mean, the ones that looked at me was mostly pension funds because it was big private equities, Bain Capital and a couple other ones. And they said, well, we have X amount coming from insurance, but the bigger amount, and they give you a pie chart, it comes from pension funds and maybe a small amount from some wealth individuals that go through. But if that, most of them don't even do that. So they get the money. And now the way they do it is they take 2% to manage the money and then 20% on the upside. So in other words, and then when they do take the money, they invest in companies. But when they do invest in companies, so let's just say I'm a private equity, you want to basically sell your business. I decide I want to buy you, and then Johnny over here is the one that gave you the money. So I'm taking money from Johnny. I take $1 from Johnny, and I'm gonna take 2% a year to manage that money from Johnny. But I have 1 year to put the money into work. So I have to buy you or somebody else within a year. So that 2% helps me do diligence, pay salaries, and so on. Now I invested in your business. So I bought into your business have some revenue. I am taking a piece of that revenue every year that goes only to me, not to Johnny the investor, because still I need to manage the investment. So I'll take 2% of your revenue. So now I'm having 2% of the money that came in and then 2% on the revenue that comes from the investments. Plus, whenever we sell, if there was an upside event for it, 20% goes to me. So that's why they have so much cash, private jets, all that good stuff, just on the managing the cash. And I mean, oh, we have a small fund here, $9 billion. So that's basically 4% comes into their pocket or so before they even did anything. So it's 40 million times 9. So it's 36, no, it's $360 million comes in roughly a year to their pocket before they even sold anything. And how many people work in this? Oh, like 20, which two of them are managing directors taking 99% of the money. So it's beautiful. It's like, okay, I definitely needed to understand money a little bit better while I was running BoxyCharm because I created a business to put myself in it. And yeah, it gives me some financial security, but I created a job for myself. While you do something else, it's so much different. And I was fascinated when I saw this. And when I sold, I was happy because I said, okay, maybe I can build something like that myself.
I think that's why you explained something that most people don't know. Definitely the private equity model is the most lucrative model of any business ever created. And it's incredibly lucrative for the person who has it, for the person who invests in it. And the model itself, like buying businesses, is how you get people like LMVH Group to become so big. They didn't invent anything, they didn't start anything. They just took businesses with good names and exploded them. Some of them go really well and some of them don't. What you just explained, that pain point of the 2% plus the 2%, and sometimes it's even more. Like it can be acquisition fee, disposition fee, restructuring fee. There's fees all over the place
Oh,
where
it's a
managers
profit center.
is a profit center for sure. And it's also, but that's why there's a proliferation of family offices, of people that say, I can do this myself, but then hire specialists to do things that they cannot. I'm curious, you mentioned real estate many times. What did real estate provide for you? What do you do in real estate? And why was it like the center of your
Look,
learning?
real estate is such a broad space where there are endless opportunities, and the ones that win are the ones that specialize better than someone else, right? You just too many of them. I was having the pleasure of talking to Moishe Mana. He's kind of like a tycoon billionaire in the real estate space here in Miami, at least. He's the one that built Wynwood, and it was a fascinating story. So he told me how he does what he does, and we sat down for about 5 hours, and he broke down his kind of like story, how he came and built something. The way with him is that he would take a place that's not good, a bad area, and over time, at least at the time, he would buy the whole area, and he would just change the zoning from, say, industrial part where you have body shops or so on to, okay, now you can put bars over here and you can do restaurants and so on. And he would make the place desirable and a destination. And instead of putting the money in the renovation himself, he would say, listen, you come in, You're going to sign a lease for whatever number of years. I'll give you great amount of money for tenant improvements, but I want to prove what your tenants improvements are. So it's going to look nice. And then, but I'll charge you more for the rent. So he would be able to refinance that and buy another building and another building, and eventually he buys square blocks and neighborhoods, and he make that area unique. And he would have no need to go and build anything like in Wynwood. He was just getting artists to spray on the walls of old buildings that used to be body shops that now are cool place where they make you a juice bar or so on, and it's chic and it's unique. And it created its own culture just for that. So now you don't have to go and rebuild and put millions of dollars. Now, because if you're building, you're just building one building, and all the money goes into development. Now you don't need to do that. And that's how you get Wynwood now. Of course, today people buy from him those buildings and then they tear it down, build high, like 5-story high rises over there. But that's how he made a lot of his money. So it was fascinating, but at the same time, I'm not gonna buy neighborhoods over 10 years. I know that's not me. So I found out that his model was already duplicated by others. You find out that other people can do it already in groups, and then you just join those groups. So imagine a group of people buying a whole area around the city. A city always expand, right? The high rises. So they go to a certain area. So you go to a place where you talk to a city planner, and they said, well, this is where all the innovation is going to go in the next couple of years. That's all the permits. That's where you want to buy. So you want to buy in an area that was having a lot of future investments coming in, and you just want to buy products over there, land, warehouses, or and then you let the city come to you. You go to a place that's near the city, but not there exactly, and then you let the city come to you, and you can call it land banking. You rent it 5% a year. That's not the real money. The real money is all the. Now you're surrounded with high rises, with restaurants, boardwalks, and it wasn't like that before. It was all hood, ghetto, but you bought it cheap. You just need to know where it's at, and it goes as easy as going to a city planner asking where. Okay, there. Okay, let me go in and see who didn't sell their houses over there yet, and let me just buy those houses, rent them in the meantime, so they pay their overheads, and eventually you're gonna see a city showing up around you, building high rises right next to you, and then try to buy anything in that space, and you get to see it on it. And that's part of what I'm doing. It's not everything, it's just one of the strategies.
I love it. I actually met Moshe a couple times, and his strategy is very interesting because in school, they tell you you can reinvent the product, you cannot reinvent the market.
Mm.
And when I met Moshe, he said, I invent the market, I don't invent the product.
Oh, that's beautiful. He's creating the market. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
He's definitely a pioneer, and he's done it and he's proved it. And he's definitely a contrarian investor. Everybody would say Wynwood is a hellhole, it's a ghetto, and now it's the most desirable.
Wait, you're from Florida?
I'm Miami, yeah.
Well, I'm in Miami right now. Why are we doing it on Zoom? Next time we could have done this on.
For sure, let's do it in person, and let's meet in person too, because there's a lot of things that
I have a whole podcast section in my house, so we can do it over there.
we love it. We'll do it.
Yeah, awesome.
There's a lot to unpack for sure.
Yeah.
I also liked how you mentioned how, okay, Moshe's idea, but then replicated with people that are doing it together. And this is exactly what we do at Infinity. This is my company exactly. I thought, how can I invest into real estate, but be more of an investment manager instead of being the sponsor? Because sponsors usually have, or this is the biggest pain point I have with sponsorship, is everybody's project is the best. Every project makes sense. Every project's projections
Of
are like
course.
this. Everybody makes 20% IRR. Everybody does 2x multiple. Everybody does the same. And then you're
Yeah.
like, how do I know good, bad, ugly, exceptional? How do I know the difference? So it takes a special skill to find people that can, understand what they're seeing, and seeing that I believe there is no bad markets. There's only bad strategies, and there's no bad investments. They're just bad understandings.
Okay.
So I try to help people like you and entrepreneurs and high net worth individuals understand, like, okay, you want to allocate to this. You don't have to become Moshe. You don't have to become related. You can do it through other people or very specialized entrepreneurs. And I like that you mentioned that. And also, I wrote down the city planner as an idea, because most people say, they call me and they say, Ahmad, what's a good area to invest in? You're like, what do you mean? Like, For what?
Yeah.
Going to the city planner is a great idea because then you have.
But yeah, everything I tell you, it's I'm using someone else's strategy that told me that, and then I was using it. Like I'm pretty good in remembering what's important. So you say one time, I'll probably remember that if it's important. If it's not important, I'll totally forget it.
Yeah, yeah,
You know that it just happened to be like this. But this is the beauty of it, where you go and you talk to people and you tell them what Moshe did, and they said, well, yeah, that's what we're doing. Where? In this place in Fort Lauderdale. Oh, where? Did you buy everything already? No. Should I? Let me see. Oh, well, here's some pockets I can buy over here. Yeah, buy this, buy that. And eventually everybody wants you to buy because everybody's planning this together. It's a beauty of this. Like Moshe went on, I think it was 10 years with Winwood, and nobody wanted to touch Winwood because you wouldn't want to go there not only at night, but even during the day when he was. Now he's doing what's the
Wagner.
name of that? Flagler Street, right? He's really obsessed with Flagler Street. He's going to do the Tesla museum over there for Nikolai Tesla. And so he's just really passionate about that. But that's a guy that's already took it to another level. But it's kind of like War Dogs. If you watch the movie War Dogs, I'm not trying to be Northrop Grumman over here. I'm trying to be when it's not my business, let me get some bites, and those are many millions of dollars in a market where I know that if I'll build around Flagler. Flagler is going to be the next part in Miami, or if you go to Magic City with Bob's and Grillo or so on. So you need to know those spots. They got the permits already. They are going to put the money. They get the related group. They have all those big. I mean, some foundations. You know the money that's going to be in that. So just buy around that if you are not part of that team, and if you happen to be part of them, great for you. That would be, and that's in case you're too lazy to ask the city planner or someone that retired from the city that has all the planning and it can pull it for you, and you pay them $300 an hour and you can see that. But that's in that case.
Yeah. Let's move on to what's in your future. What's in your purview? What are you working on now?
Well, I I started doing a lot of biohacking, and it's already becoming a trend. In my case, I started a couple of years ago, where the term biohacking was something I heard, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and 5 years ago. Recently, I want to say in the last 2 3 years, I got into peptides, and I knew that my belief is that in the future, peptides are going to be just like vitamins today. There is not one person that would know what vitamin B or vitamin C is, right? Even though it was so many years, people are buying it consistently, they're consuming it all the time and so on. But if you tell them what is copper peptide, ipamorelin or tesamorelin, most people wouldn't know what it is. There is the community of people who knows what it is, they're passionate about this, but it's expanding. In the future, I believe everyone is going to know because the instrumental value from peptides is much more potent than vitamins. It's a whole different level. I feel like everyone's going to know. So I feel like this is where the wave is starting. So I got into the peptide space. I haven't fully launched it yet because it's a highly bureaucratical, very demanding in terms of FDA approvals and so on, the business itself. But this is where I'm heading. I'm just trying to figure out something that I actually use for myself, because I did sell makeup before, and I'm not a user. This time I'm like, let me go and do something that I actually like to use. I saw a couple really transformational results from certain peptides instantly, where you don't get this from vitamins. Right? Show me a vitamin that if I tell you take that vitamin, you're going to see a difference. Some you would see, some if you have a certain condition, like you might have hair shedding, take biotin, it's going to stop it. But it's going to stop it, and you'll say, but most of them, you take most of those vitamins, like, I don't know, I'm taking D3, I don't know, does it do something? Only if you do blood tests, you'll tell. But you can't really tell. Like vitamin C, I'm taking it, but once in a while I still get sick. I don't know, does it do something? But with peptides, it's a game changer. You feel it, you know it's working. I know, so in my belief is that if I am a passionate person using this, I've seen the transformation, let me go into that space because I enjoy it. And if it's going to be as big, good. If it's going to be smaller, who cares? I'm doing it for fun. I do something I'm passionate about. It's fun. And I just do believe that this is the momentum to go into it. In 10 years from now, not only everyone's going to use it, everyone's going to know about this at least. It's not everyone going to know about this. Many people would use it. So whatever the size of the market is right now, it would be unimaginably bigger than what it is.
You see, you have the characteristic of every entrepreneur, which is living in the future.
Mm.
I 100% agree with you that if it's not peptides, I will also believe that in the future, people will look at corrective medicine as archaic.
Boom.
They will think, like, you didn't take care of yourself? You didn't do preventative medicine? You didn't think that you needed to be healthy and take care of your health rather than your sick? We only take care of our sickness. We don't take care of our health.
Yeah. Preventative is not something that you can see every day, and people don't really think about preventative. Absolutely. If I wanted to go and tell you, hey, instead of you worried about a hair loss when you lose hair, how about you start applying products now that clinically shown to slow down, and now you would have a couple extra years. It's a lot easier versus reversing the hair loss that you already had, or go to Turkey to have implants.
Exactly. And also root causes, like sometimes we don't understand that hair loss is a symptom of something even worse in your body. Maybe it's excess stress. Maybe it's cortisol levels are too high. Maybe you're not sleeping correctly. Maybe you're not moving enough. Maybe you're not having enough excitement in your life and you're just on a go, go, go phase. So instead of only thinking of, okay, you're losing hair, go to Turkey and get a hair transplant. It's more like, how can I see my life a little bit more holistically and treat myself through more proven things? And you mentioned something I wanted to ask you, like, why aren't peptides more known today? And you mentioned it's bureaucracy, it's lack of knowledge. So do you see your as a, like, do you want to create a product again, or is it more educational, or we'll see?
So first of all, I feel like yes, products definitely. I mean, I have some stuff in a barrel, but I feel like there's going to be telemedicine platforms right now picking up. So having a telemedicine platform where you sell certain things with products, and then obviously build community around this. Right now, the community would be more passionate than what the community is going to be in about 5, 10 years from today. And the reason is, if you don't see too many people, like if you okay, so I'm a Jew. When you ask why are Jews always together, well, we're only 16 million Jews globally. You go to another country, you don't see any Jews. Usually, wherever you go, you don't see Jews. But then, if you go to a country that you have suddenly a small amount of Jews over there, oh wow, you're from there, just because it's so hard to find. But if you say, well, I'm Latino, I'm coming to Miami, they're all Latinos. You don't get excited when you see another Latino because they're all Latinos. But it has to be someone from your town, from your school. It has to be something so precise. So right now, you don't have too many people that are doing peptides. So when you do, let's talk about this. What are you using? Where are you getting it? Because there's not a name where you buy peptides. You can't even name it a company that everyone's going to know. It just doesn't exist. So everyone is talking about this. I have my nurse practitioner that knows about this. Does your doctor? No, he does no shit. Where are you buying it? Online. That is gonna change where every doctor is gonna know about this. Now we're all there. There's no more community because the world is too big. Everyone's doing that. Tighter it is. That's the time because they're super passionate, and you gotta ride this because they're gonna build you up. You can see that the momentum would start closing up once you're going to see more and more people doing that. So now I talk peptides, but it is stemming from biohacking, exactly what you're saying. Live healthier from your lifestyle and food and everything else, and then add some hacks that people haven't used before because they help. Swab cheek testing for DNA, damage DNA, do some DNA methylation, take other products like rapamycin or so on to help with DNA methylation. There's a lot of things that people that are into peptides, they have that umbrella behind them, and you can put all that. And the education has levels, right? Some people are really informed, some people have no clue because they're new. So as you build it up, the community usually collectively starts bringing people in. It's a very accepting community where people are educating each other. So it's going to be nice to come in, and I feel like that's early days. I see this as investing in Amazon in 1998. That's how I see it. 1999, not 96, but those years.
Those
When
years.
you see the proof of concept, it's going to be there. Everybody's going to want it, but this is the time to invest.
Love it, love it. And I it's funny when you said there's only 16 million Jews. I feel like I know half of them because
Yeah, because you're Persian, and there's a lot of Persian Jews wherever you're going to go. But yeah, but you're also in Miami, right? So
correct,
yeah,
correct.
there's a lot of us over here. Yeah.
And I love this conversation because it's very much about, the positive and not necessarily the negative. Like I have the biggest beef with Ozempic and Wegovy and like fat loss drugs. Like you can buy the drug and it's the biggest thing in the world, but there's nothing to improve your muscle health. There's nothing to improve, like, the other side, the positive. It's like, oh, steroids are bad. Nobody understands them because it's banned, because it's bad for you, or performance enhancing drugs. We know most athletes are using them, but because it's not known, we don't know the side effects, we don't know what's going. So having a
It wasn't democratized. And what happened is when you're looking at, well, if you're looking at enhancers that back then when steroids were damaged people's internal organs because they poorly used it, they abused it, and so on. It could have been good because you might have some injury in your shoulder and it was meant for that. But then, oh, wait a minute. If it repairs muscle, that means it builds a muscle. Let me just inject it over here. Let me fuck up my health for that. So that was the negative connotation that came from this. Look, Ozempic, and I will touch this one time. I'm not. Well, I do have some shares in that I recently bought in Novo Nordic. But in general, the thing with Ozempic is an ingredient. It's not a recipe. We're looking at the GLP-1, and the GLP-1 hormone stops you from. It's kind of like slows down your digestive system, and it basically tells you stop whatever. You don't need more of whatever you do. It might be food, it might be alcohol, it might be even drugs. People find out that it's a great way to, even if it can be a habit that you're biting your nails, it would make you stop the addiction to bite your nails. It stops addiction. Now, when you look at Ozempic or Mounjaro, semaglutide or tirzepatide, it is never meant to be a recipe. It's an ingredient. Most doctors go subscribe, go home. What they should say is you can use this, but it has to pair with the right amount of protein that you consume. There will be some side effects, those will be. You can use it for X amount of time, and then you get off of this if you change what you eat and you start working out. That is the recipe. You do that, it is a miracle drug. If you don't do that, you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass, so you're going to be addicted to it because that's your engine to burn your calories and your muscle, and that would be worse than useless. So it's better if you don't do that. However, if you do it right, it is a miracle drug and you do not have to stay on this forever. You can get off of this. And there are many other benefits, cognitive, you name it, inflammation, cognitive, just really good benefits where you take it, not for the same protocol for weight loss, you can take it much less. You can take it microdosing. The product itself is great. The thing is, we should be very wary about kind of like killing a good product for perfection because it's not a great product. If that was just injected and you're good, great. Oh, now I want to eat more steaks and I don't want to have any more pasta. But if I take it and I eat the same amount of junk food that I've been eating, just less, then I'm gonna lose muscle. And here you go. You're gonna see the Ozempic face. You lose muscle mass. You lose. And that's a negative. But doctors, phase one, are less educated about that. I believe that more and more people get more awareness about it, especially doctors. And as long as doctors are doing what they should be doing, is telling the people how properly to consume food, what food not to eat, it is so much easier to get on a healthy diet with that because it does kill your craving for all the junk food. And then explain, look, it will take you a week to change your gut microbiome. While you stop eating French fries and bread and so on, are you going to switch it to eggs, fish, steaks, meats, avocado, and so on? After a week, your gut microbiome changed to be optimized to that type of food, and it gets easier. Now, using this, the addiction part you have for the pizza and so on is going to be easier to combat versus without it. So you're doing it right, that would be easier, but they have to get that education.
Yeah. Yosef, this was amazing. You dropped so much knowledge. You gave me so many, like I said, like 2 pages
I'm glad.
notes.
Same here, same here. Picked up a lot of information from you, and we should definitely get together.
For sure. I look forward to keeping in touch, and whoever, like I saw your Instagram, you're very big. I'll put all that stuff so that people can connect with you and keep learning. And thank you so much again for being here. And definitely I'll reach out so that we can stay in touch.
You got it, my brother. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Yosef.